Welcome to the SHT podcast. This podcast is created by our community, for our community, and for anyone else who wants to look, feel, and perform like a frickin' badass. Your holistic health journey starts and continues right here with us. Rediscover how you were meant to live. Is that what you wanted me to say?
All right, hey, what's up, y'all? So I'm so excited to bring this interview to you. This is with my good friend and business mentor and real foodie, RJ Williams. This guy just has a lot of really great insights. We talk about real food, we talk about business, we talk about life, and there's plenty of little nuggets in here that I think you're going to take away and be able to get some use out of. So I hope you enjoy.
Rock and roll.
Yes, all right. So today we are here with RJ Williams.
Correct.
Does RJ stand for something?
Robert Joseph.
Okay. It's a little bit longer than RJ.
It is.
Yeah. All right. So we're here to just learn a little bit about RJ. And I was telling RJ when he came in a while ago, he's lost so much weight. He just looks like a completely different person. You look like a kid. It's crazy. But I just wanted to get him on here and just kind of share his story and his experiences and see if we couldn't learn something useful from it. You ready?
Ready.
So tell us a little bit about you. What do you do for a living right now?
So I am a physical therapist by trade. Worked here in Las Vegas a little over 5 years in a clinic, but now have gotten a great opportunity to work for our franchise company to be kind of like a business coach and consultant for other franchisees. So I work with small physical therapy practice owners to help them take care of people better.
Yeah, I remember when I was like trying to venture into this community site that we got right now, which I freaking love. I love it. It's going to turn into something so great, man. I'm so excited about it. Like that was so useful just being able to talk to you about it. And then I realized afterwards, I was like, you probably should have charged me like $1,000 or something to talk to me about that, you know?
It's for sure, for me, it's one of those things where I've known I always liked helping people. Mm-hmm. When I was finishing high school, I had a really good relationship with a couple of my teachers, and I thought like education was the thing I needed to go in because I wanted to be like them. Mm-hmm. And I think it just was like I liked helping communicate with people. I liked talking through things with people, and if it was like together we could come to a better answer or a better understanding of something, it gives me validation and happiness. And so it helps me know I'm on the right track when I can give some time to somebody and they say, hey man, that was really impactful.
Yeah, same here, man. You have that very open perspective, kind of like all right, how can we make this work? What's the best way? You don't have a set way of like saying or doing anything right off the bat. Like it's really, really open and almost evolutionary or something like that. So how about describing your life in pivot points? You understand what I mean by that? Like going through your life and just like, you know, what are the big things that they could be good, bad? Like what are the things that happened that kind of changed your trajectory and were just those big things, you know?
So I mean, probably the first major milestone for me was I grew up in Western Pennsylvania.
Beautiful area.
Yeah, I love. It was probably about 20-30 minutes outside of Pittsburgh. So I had a great upbringing with like a hard-working, blue-collar mentality area, but I was fortunately my parents lived in a good area where I went to a good high school, so had access to a lot of things. But when I moved to Las Vegas right after high school, it was a huge cultural shift and shock. I went from, you know, primarily, and it's funny with all the things going on in the world right now, primarily like a white affluent area of school, and then I moved to Las Vegas, and you know, it was my first time experiencing the world at a much wider scale. And I think that was a great opportunity for me in college to learn and grow at the right time, meeting a lot of people. I got fortunately connected and involved with a lot of things to challenge me as a person to, you know, learn acceptance and inclusiveness and equality, things like that, things that I know that I still have to keep in the forefront of always improving on. But that, in the light of circumstances now, is something I've reflected on. Like, I was very fortunate to have that experience, and I wonder for a lot of people that I went to high school with, maybe they did or didn't get that opportunity if they kind of stayed in that area all the time.
So you moved here for college?
So I moved here for college.
What was an example of something that helped you, like what you're talking about right now? Just being around other students from different ethnicities and all that stuff?
Absolutely that. I got involved in some leadership things, and, not to like woo-woo a lot of psychology, sociology things and experiences. I remember going through this like learning seminar on a weekend where we were all put into groups and given like name tags or some sort, but depending on the color of like the name tag or the color your name was written in, the people hosting the event treated you differently, but nobody told you that at the start of it. And so you were like watching other people get put in front of you in a line or getting more money for completing a task or something than you. And I remember like getting like passionately frustrated and like worked up and yelling at people during this seminar in the day because I was frustrated about something. And then the big reveal at the end was social inequality, and it was like, wow. A huge moment in that was like, oh, I have never really experienced something like that in my everyday life.
Interesting.
So that was definitely a lot of things that I tried to then continue to participate in.
Yeah. So pivot points again. So moving on, college, Las Vegas, then what?
Going through, I actually spent a lot of time in college not sure what I wanted to do. I like mentioned about teaching. I was going to go into like communications or some sort of entertainment, like film development things. Considered criminal justice. Finally landed on kinesiology with the plans to go to physical therapy school. Unfortunately, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer while I was in college, and my first year or so was kind of living it up in college and caring less about academics, and that kind of grounded me back again to saying like, hey, I need to take like health seriously, because my mom was like get up at 6 a.m. and work out before work every day type of person, and so the fact that like she could get sick in any way was scary for sure. And then I would like drive her to her chemo treatments.
She's here in Vegas?
She's here in Vegas. Over the summer, and like that summer then I started going to the gym, and my health got better, and that kind of continued to nudge me in this direction of like I needed to be in the health care field. And physical therapy just felt like a glove.
It was like a perfect storm.
Yeah.
And how old are you now?
I am 33.
And how old, what was that? When was that that happened?
That would have been like probably 19.
Cool. Then what?
So going through PT school is when I found CrossFit. And that became my outlet for like a break from the rigor of that program. So having to study and be in class all day, and then knowing that you had to come home and put more hours in to, be ready for the next day and ingest all that material. I needed something physical, I feel like, to do to take out a lot of that pent up energy from studying and sitting all day. Working the mind really hard, so I needed something to work the body, and Sin City CrossFit had a gym.
I was going to ask you where you went.
Yeah, right up the street I went to Toro University here in Nevada.
When was that? What year?
That would have been 2010 to 13.
Dang, yeah. That was like when CrossFit was first kind of like, it was up and coming.
Yeah, and I mean, that's like, I remember the first pair of Reebok Nanos that came out, and like getting those and doing all of that stuff was... I felt like I had experienced CrossFit right in the transition from the garage to like mainstream. I watched that kind of explosion happen being part of it. And it definitely was my happy place. That was where I felt really good. And I tried to keep that momentum when I started working as a professional, but as work demand increased, the amount of time that I could give to CrossFit varied. And over probably the last 10 years, then that has waxed and waned relative to other things in life. But it's definitely a large building block of my adult version of me.
Yeah, the CrossFit piece. Yeah, absolutely. Me too.
A lot of life lessons hidden in
it's beyond what I think a lot of people realize until you sit down and talk it out. It's like, yeah.
One of my good buddies, we say that CrossFit is a interesting litmus test to the character of a person. When you're in the gym and you know that there's somebody there that's like cheating their reps or shaving, the amount of work that they have to do, is like, how could you trust them with anything else in life around that? And it's like the only work that matters is the work that you put into it, and the quality of that work and the effort to that work there's no escaping that it's just hard work.
Yeah.
And so if you're tough with yourself in the gym there, then you're likely going to be, resilient to things out in life as well, and tough and work through them rather than try to shortcut it or find a way around it.
Even that process is a learning process, though, for people. I just got finished reading this book, The Tipping Point, and he was talking about, have you read that?
I've heard it. It's on my list to take down.
So it was like a big discussion on the context of so I'm just thinking about what you're saying there. I feel like most people probably went through a phase of, how do you say, being laxed with everything, their reps, their score, there's something like that, because you're so in this competitive, especially the way it used to be. But if you're open to someone teaching you and mentoring you about the importance of the honor behind your reps and your counts and your form and all this stuff, then a lot of people have a chance to kind of learn from that and shift, so it's not like an absolute all the time. I remember I started here locally with Omar down at Camp Fit Force. So I don't know if it was an affiliate or not at the time, but I was just so humbled by the whole thing, trying to keep up with people, and I just remember having some scores sometimes. He'd be like, "Really? Did you get that?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I thought I did." And then if I was really honest with myself, I kind of quickened it or something like that. And I realized at some point I was like, you know what? This is about something so much bigger than that. It's like, so I think everybody has a chance to kind of evolve and learn through something. That's where I feel like the honor and stuff comes out of it, is if you can come into something like this, get humbled and get taught and realize that you need to improve, something like that.
Yeah, and I think ultimately the place that I've landed on for myself recently with it is the only thing that the score ultimately, yeah, I was gonna say the ultimatum of it ultimately means is,
ultimatum sounds cooler, but yeah,
a data point for you in where you're at right now.
Uh-huh.
Sure, it is competitive in the nature where you're looking maybe to your peers about where do you rank amongst that, but I think that gives people that potential reason that they want to do things to get a better score. But ultimately that score then is a reflection for you.
Yeah.
And if you're really in it to then in 6 months or wherever retest and compete, you're competing against yourself, and you're competing against potentially your shortcuts in that.
Yeah.
And now you're just disadvantaging yourself because you're not actually to prove your improvements. And that's the thing that matters, is just you getting better over time, not what you did that individual day.
Yeah, but people have to be educated on that mentality. You know what I'm saying? And especially now here, we do things different. I think people they're coming in to a different way of doing things, whereas before it was a lot about the time and the score and the rep and all that. But you have to be educated on that, because a lot of people just don't get it. And then when you get it, you get it. And it's like everything changes,
Yeah.
So, cool. So what next? Anything after that? Pivot point.
So I had exited a long-term relationship that was through college and PT school. That was definitely a challenge of a situation I never experienced or thought I was going to end up experiencing. And it kind of had me reboot my whole life. And I feel the growth that I've had probably over the last 3 years because of that is extremely significant. It's not something that I would wish upon anybody, but also it's an experience that I think it is taught me so many lessons that I'm happy that I've had to go through it.
Yeah.
And that was really assessing the values of what mattered to me, what made me happy, what could I contribute to another person to bring happiness in all of that. Who, you kind of learn who your real friends are, who shows up for you then, and who kind of gives you just the pat on the back and, hey, hope you're doing okay, but really that felt hollow from some people. And people that I never expected to really come alongside me to make sure that I was okay came out of left field and now have become extremely important people to me, and it helped me reassess the genuineness of certain relationships and how vulnerable I choose to be with certain people, and how that's earned and how that's maintained. There's a lot that happened all around that stuff, but it's helped me be a much happier person.
Yeah, your greatest growth and evolution come out of those really, really, really difficult, challenging times. And like you said, you don't wish it on anybody, and at the same time, the people that go through that stuff, like, you're just completely different on the other side of it, for sure. I'm especially if you have a good perspective like that, or eventually get to that perspective.
Yeah, I've never been in any of the armed services, but I can imagine going through that process and potentially being in war or conflict. That's an experience that, while it may not be pleasant most of the time or all of the time, the character that it builds on the other side of it is undeniable.
Yeah.
And there's rare moments like that in life that I feel not everybody gets to experience.
Yeah. What else? What next? Anything else?
Then I came here, and it's been at the most perfect time. Like I said, it was when I was kind of restarting my life and looking for community and people of like-minded individuals, where I could start to make a new home. Being in a new relationship at that time. Well, I think Katie and I were together for about a year before I came over here. But needing a community of people, again, it's the same thing, like I said, fitness being a thing for me as an outlet of my energy, but to do it in a healthy way, where it wasn't people, aggro, competing over their scores and trying to put up the most weight possible, but people that said, like, hey, we're looking to build lifelong, healthy, good humans that care about community and care about the people in their community. Meeting you, meeting Ashley, meeting Colby, and the whole team here. Sitting down with you to talk about food and all things ancestral was right in a time where I feel like I needed to, some of the things I was familiar with, but some of the things I wasn't, but definitely was the right stage to revisit that and get kind of back in touch with those things that were important to me.
Yeah, you took off with it too, man. That's great to hear. So, like, in your journey, who's been your main leaders or inspirations? If you got maybe a couple of people or something like that come to mind, who've been your big inspirations or teachers? From my professional career, I've gotten good fortune of having good leaders and mentors to teach me, I think, not just business
and the aspects related to my profession, but caring for the people that you do business with. Being in the physical therapy community, it's definitely a place of empathy and compassion, because you're helping people that are to some degree broken and working to get them back to a version of themselves that feels whole again. So we're naturally surrounded by people that want to care for people. So to learn how to run a business and manage a business that also cares for the employees has always been important to me. But I mean, it's hard for me to say like a mentor or someone in specific, because I try to learn from everybody. I feel like every person that I interact with has something that they can improve me on. And so I try to treat everybody that way, and try to, what can I do to help that person, but what is that person going to help me with too? Growth in some way, or fitness in some way, or getting a ride to the store because you forgot your car, like whatever. There's always something, not to make that sound transactional, that there's always something you can take from somebody or give to somebody, but there's always lessons, there's always an experience there. So I never try to create a ranking and being like, well, that person is somebody that I need to look up to. It's like I need to look around.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. I love that. That's a good little phrase. We're always catching each other with these phrases. We need to write that down. Instead of looking up, you look. Instead of looking up to, look around. Yeah. What about? Do you have like a book that you feel like is like one of your best, like most influential, useful?
Probably two major books. I do a lot of reading in leadership and business type things, but Atomic Habits.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah,
is one that I did at the tail end of 2019, and it literally, I feel like I can't escape it now. I feel like everything I do in all aspects of my life come back to that book, or that book helps me improve that. Whether it's work, health, food, it touches so much, but eloquently.
Yep.
And then my other one is The Obstacle is the Way.
Oh, I haven't read that yet. I think it's in my reading list on my audiobooks.
Yeah, by Ryan Holiday.
Yep.
I've read a lot of his.
He did the Peace is the Way thing too, right? Didn't he come up with a follow-up?
He could have. He also does.
Silences or something like that.
Stillness.
Yeah.
Stillness is key.
Yeah.
And I've actually read a couple of his books. I have some of his medallions of like mementos to remember things by. But the two big things that I take from Obstacle are the fact that like things are difficult, you need to embrace that, because going through that and coming out the other side makes you a stronger person. So finding the silver lining, or whatever you want to call it, into everything and anything, that challenge or the obstacle, hence the book, is a path that you need to go through. And the second part is memento mori, which is a Latin phrase that's kind of paraphrased as like remember your death, which to some people is scary or morbid, but the way that it's meant to be looked at is, any moment you could leave Earth, so let that dictate how you go about your business. So this conversation could be the last conversation that I have today. The kiss that I gave Katie when she left for work this morning could be the last time that gets to happen. So don't take moments for granted. Don't waste your time. Don't be upset about things that don't really matter to the grand scheme of your life. Come to every day appreciative that you get another chance to live that day, and capitalize on that. And that to me is something that in the last, like I said, 2 or 3 years in the refresh of my life is something that has become very meaningful to consistently remember.
I love it. There was, I think it was, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Tim Ferriss was interviewing someone, and The quote, live each day as if it were your last. Whoever this was didn't think it was as accurate as saying something like live each day as if it could be your last. And that's such a good reminder, you saying that, it's like, because every day could be your last. If you live it as if it was your last, then you'd go blow everything and go crazy, right? But if you live it as if it could be, you're so much more appreciative of everything, every experience.
Absolutely. And it's like when was a couple years ago when like YOLO became the phrase as the excuse to do things wild and crazy. I think what you said, it's much more reserved than that. It's not to live with recklessness, right, but live with appreciation.
Yes. Boom, there's another good quote. You got to write that down. That was a really good one.
So I feel like it was on, like Ryan was being interviewed by somebody and I was watching it.
What I'm talking about?
I don't think it was the Tim Ferriss thing. Okay. But he was saying, one of the like ancient Stoics that he always references, like to wake up as if this new day was gifted to you. Like you got a day that you didn't deserve. So go make it positive because you're here another day that was never promised to you. And use that as momentum to do good. Use that as action to improve something in the world. And that's like, those things have become really meaningful and powerful to me as an individual.
Yeah. One reason I like you is I don't know, I can just tell you just have a good heart. Like it was interesting the first time I met you in there. You have your perceptions of people when you first meet them, which is usually completely inaccurate. And it wasn't negative or anything. I just had no idea who you were. Remember I kept trying to schedule sessions with you and Katie, and then y'all, you couldn't do it, and so you rescheduled, then you back out, and I kept kind of asserting or inserting myself or whatever you want to call it. And then I got to know you. I was like, man, you're a freaking great guy. You're a really good guy. I don't have anything else to say. That wasn't segueing into anything. I was just like, it's just something I like about you.
But I was very difficult to pin down for a meeting, that is for sure.
Don't be playing hard to get with me, man.
Yeah.
I'm insecure. All right, so let's walk us through a day in the life of RJ. Like, do you have a routine? Like, what do you do for like when you wake up, lunch, dinner?
Yeah.
Do you have any rituals?
So, and especially in the world as it had been dictated to us since March of having to be kind of sheltered in place and or stay at home, I got very comfortable with my routine in that. And I'm definitely
in post that, like in the middle of this right now?
In that time.
Okay.
And I'm much that I like a pattern or consistency to my day. And I get very disrupted when that gets off kilter. Mm-hmm. So I used to work out at 4:30 after I finished patient care. I would work from 7 to 4, and I'd go to the gym at 4:30. I'd hit my workout, then it was dinner, and then it was like, at that point then I was free to go. When I stopped treating patients, I started traveling. That was one of the things that I needed to come back to a gym to get grounded in a program again, because it was just so, my life felt so chaotic. And so the silver lining to everything that we went through starting in March was like everything got wiped off the calendar. So I've gotten very comfortable recently in the last few months to get up around 5 a.m. Usually the alarm is set for 5 on the dot. Get up, take the dog, now we have 2 dogs, out. They go, potty and everything like that. Start breakfast. I have a cup of coffee. Katie's getting ready for the start of her day, and then around 6 a.m., because that was when we had our little Zoom class, I start gearing up to do a morning workout. I get my workout done. I take our older dog for an actually long walk outside, and that's a little bit of quiet time for me. Something I picked up from the SHT program was like a no phones time for that.
Own mind time.
Yeah, my own mind time is just go out and I walk her probably 30, 45 minutes, depending on temperature and how tolerable she is to it. Just go out and I walk her through a park or desert shores or somewhere where we just have a nice, easy morning start where I can get my head sorted. And then by about 8 o'clock, I'm sitting down to start my work day. And whatever that looks like is now predominantly Zoom meetings. I try to have...
What time is that usually at?
What's that?
What time do you get done with like your walk and start your day?
So 8 a.m. is like work start time. And then I usually break around, what I've tried to do is be around the 2 o'clock mark to eat my first meal.
Have coffee or stuff during the day?
So coffee in the morning.
Cream?
Heavy cream, heavy whipping cream, and some sort of like stevia packet or something just to give it a little... I was never a big coffee drinker, and then when I started drinking coffee, I got spoiled with like, I always call it candy coffee. It was like Starbucks.
The creamers and all that stuff.
Starbucks, you got to doll it all up. So I have never quite gone into the black coffee realm.
Me neither. I like cream.
Yeah. But that I feel like holds me over.
Yep.
And then I get to lunchtime, like I said, around 2 o'clock. Done really intentional work with Katie. She was one of the things that I loved about her was she was like, meal prep, plan, spend a day cooking, get the week's lunch prepared previous to me being with her. And my working life back when I was seeing patients was like at lunch break, was like, where am I going to go to lunch today? Like that was my life. Was like, I'll go to Chipotle. I'll go to the Rubio's. I'll go to whatever like fast food places are nearby and just pick what I'm feeling that day. And she was very much more regimented in cooking meals and things like that. And that helped me adopt her habit there. So planning meat and veggies for lunch, eat that. She gets home from work around 4:30 most days. So depending on the time of year, if it's cool out, we would walk the dog for an evening walk. If not, we're usually like making dinner then, and then the dog walk comes in the evening. So right now, because it's so hot, we try to let the sun go down before we take her out. But so then it's home with her, spend some time just probably defragmenting from the day, just decompressing, and then starting to cook dinner. That's become a new passion of mine, is cooking good food.
Oh, so great.
So
love to hear that.
Some nights out of the week it's leftovers, but a couple other nights it's like actually preparing, and it's something that her and I bond over and share as an experience. Is to, like, I might be chopping the veggies and she's sauteing something in the pan, or I'm grilling meat and she's preparing whatever inside. And we've done very well at keeping it interesting and new and fresh, but also having our favorites that we cook and always trying to strive to make them good quality meals.
It's great. You got an evening routine? Do anything like anything in particular, or y'all just chill out and just
chill out? Nothing specific, whether it's catch a show or lay. We call it the front room. It's like a little living room area in the front of the house where we'll play with the dogs and just kind of sit there.
The Zoom workout area?
The Zoom workout area, yeah. Have a glass of wine, and just enjoy the time.
Cool. I love it. What was the first concert you ever went to?
Aerosmith.
Oh, wow. When? What year?
I was in middle school, so probably would have been like mid to late 90s.
Dude, that would have been great. What was that like?
It was awesome. So it was in a big pavilion, like outdoor venue in Pittsburgh. My mom took me. It was actually, my mom is a huge Aerosmith fan. It was her, my uncle, and I want to maybe say like even my cousin. We all went, and we had lawn seats, so we were like outside of the main pavilion area. But unknowingly, they had built a secondary stage, and the band came out into the lawn and played a couple songs out there, and then went back to the main stage.
People weren't expecting.
Like right there.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So it was an awesome first concert experience for sure.
That's great. What's the movie that you've watched the most?
Ooh, I was talking about this with somebody the other day. It was my favorite movie. And I would probably say that this could be up there for what I've watched the most. I think Dumb and Dumber might be the movie I've watched the most.
I love you, man. That's good stuff.
But Memento is one of my favorite.
Never seen it.
All-time favorite movies.
I got to add that to my list.
Yeah.
Dumb and Dumber, man.
Dumb and Dumber.
Never get enough of that.
Dumb and Dumber
I'm going to
was
start using those quotes on you all the time now.
That's how Katie and I knew we were going to be a good fit for each other. I had left for a work trip after we had spent kind of like a long weekend in the early starts of us being interested in each other, and she texted me a Dumb and Dumber quote, but it was like the opening part to it, and I replied with the response to it, and she was like, this is going to be good.
Yeah. So you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah.
All right, so just a little bit of SHT stuff. What was your favorite food before SHT?
I've always been a pizza guy.
Oh.
I'm never gonna shy away from eating pizza.
What was your experience like after you? Because we only had like one official visit, really, right?
Yeah.
What was your experience like learning that, putting it into practice? Got any thoughts on that?
So, and I've talked to a handful of friends of mine over this journey because they, now as we're not as socially distant as we used to be, and we're getting together, and they're going, "Holy cow, man, you've lost some weight." I tell them, if you want to get connected with my guy, I'll get you his information, because it was so just brutally simple. The fundamental foundation of the program is just so like, okay, I can do that. Let me start there. And that's like probably why one session I just took off and started running from it was like, I could do these fundamental things, and let me run the course with that. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure our future, as we get back into here and doing stuff, there's going to be now the time to tweak and modify and experiment and try some things. But like, that has gotten me so far that I just kind of ran with it.
Yeah, we tell people the basics will serve you well for a lifetime. Like, it's like we complicate things to simplify things, and we have people go through all these different experiments and low carb and no dairy and test. But the bottom line is, man, if you just eat real food, you be strategic with your carbs, you nurture space in between meals, that's the formula for success for a lifetime right there. And if you can get that dialed in, it's like, that's the basics, You'll see a lot of good stuff. What are the most significant changes that you notice from it, that you notice about yourself?
Probably the most significant change for me, it was a conversation you and I had, and you could call this part of like a follow-up meeting for us, was I was telling you, like, hey, it's really hard flying through the airport and like being on the road, and like there's not a lot of food choices sometimes, and you just being like, don't eat.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember that.
just get dinner when you get to wherever you're going, or whatever. And how liberating that was. Mm-hmm. And people that have known me for years know that I love food, and I love to eat, and I'm never one that if people were like, hey, you want to go get food, that I'd be like, nah. Like, I'm always first one in the car, like, where are we going? Mm-hmm. So to have shifted into a way where I don't feel like I'm breaking some human law by skipping a meal, or like waiting later to eat a meal, is a whole different shift in perspective.
I know. Because we're so used to, like, you need to eat. You're supposed to eat. Yeah. It's like, it's just part of the process.
That's probably the question that I get the most when I talk about the program. And I say, like, usually first meal of the day around like 2 o'clock. People are like, well, what about breakfast? That's the most important meal of the day. Yeah. And I was like, so when you were a cave person, did you go to your caveman fridge and get your milk and cereal out to sit down and eat? Like, you had to get up and you had to go get food. Like, I biologically believe we are okay and probably designed to be able to go hunt and gather. That takes time.
Yeah. And
so there is not this artificial need that if you don't put something in your face as soon as you wake up, that you're going to be metabolically deranged.
Mm-hmm. It's actually the opposite. It's like the more space you can get, the better. See ya. Yeah, I love that. I felt like I was going to say something there. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things you can only talk about, but you have to experience it, because usually if I'm talking to someone who hasn't implemented it yet, it sounds so like you don't even, it's a different world. Then you experience it and you're like, wow, like it's actually so liberating not to be thinking about food all the time, although when we eat, it's glorious and it's great, but like I just don't care about it until I get home ready to eat, you know? That's it. What advice would you give to someone else, or maybe even yourself, knowing what you know now?
I would say trust the process and be honest to the path. At least for the first, you've got to give yourself an ample window of time for the results to really take hold. So don't jump ship in a week.
Yep.
When you're not where you want to be.
Yep.
The thing, and this is something I used to tell patients from my world of that sense, is like people coming in with chronic pain or chronic problems, shoulder issues, is like, it took you years to get to this point. I'm not going to fix this in 2 or 3 visits, but give me a couple weeks and you're going to really start to notice that subtle things are better, and then you don't realize all of those together is significantly better. Mm-hmm. And so something with this is like, there's enough varying degrees that I know you have the knowledge and expertise to coach people through, which may be changing something like dairy, or changing something like foods that you're sensitive to, or something like that. But before you just come in and start throwing a bunch of restrictions onto what the program is, do the program for a significantly meaningful amount of time to then assess where to change from there.
Yeah.
But don't come in and start putting your own barriers into it.
Yeah.
Without embracing it first.
Give it an honest shot for a significant period of time, and be honest with yourself when you're not able to, or whatever, like, versus like rationalizing what's happening, you know, because that's, I know the mental and emotional habituations and cravings and urges and just like what we're used to, like that all plays a big part in it. And but I think I like what you said about just something about give it time and some, be honest with yourself about it. And if you're having a hard time with it, then you just need to reach out for help and support, you know.
So I've had this discussion with a buddy of mine around this concept that we started using in a small circle of PTs called psychological irritability, which from a pain level, irritability is like my back pain. If I do something, how quickly does that pain come on, and how strong is it when it comes on? So if it ramps up really fast and it's really aggressive, like it's highly irritable. We were talking this concept of psychological irritability, which is how quickly does a person put up resistance towards a fundamental idea that challenges their beliefs or their perception. Politics is often like a quick one, where we see people with opposing views, like rather than being accepting to hearing somebody else's stance or point of view, they immediately dig in and have to like defend their stance, because it's this concept that like if you challenge me and my belief systems, that you're like deconstructing me and deflating me as a person, and so I have to like put up these defenses right away. And in a weird sense, we get very protective over like food and a lot of health things in the same way, where it's like, how many people do you start to talk about fat or, you know, eating meat or something like that, and they have to immediately put up an argument against you rather than want to at least hear you out on it. Yeah. And that is, to me, like that's a subtle skill, is being able to walk that landmine field and like be able to bring people in. And I think you do an excellent job with that.
Same thing with fitness, you know. A lot of people come in here, I already know how to work out, I already know how to do this, it's like, yeah. Cool, man. Well, what plans do you have for the future? What are we going to see from RJ coming up? What are you looking forward to? What do you got in the horizon?
The biggest thing is August 1st, Katie and I are supposed to have our wedding.
Oh, yeah.
In California. So we're sweating that out a little bit, what that's going to look like.
Is it going to be a big wedding or just small?
It was scheduled to probably be around 100 people, given the circumstances around things. We're hoping that the state, and it's really the county there, would let us have a gathering of, if we can get 50 people, we'll be very happy. But we've committed to that we're gonna, as long as we're able to do something, even if it's just us, we want to do that and move that along, because we're very excited about the life following it as well. Fingers crossed, we want to be parents in some capacity. So hoping that I can move it. The biggest thing there is moving into the next chapter of my life, which would be being a provider for a small human and raising and nurturing the next generation is something that I am very excited about, that opportunity. So
that sounds great.
So becoming dad is really something for me.
You'll be a great dad.
Thank you.
Great dad. Yeah, let me know when you get ready, because I got some books I'll recommend. Some really good books.
Oh,
and then I got to have the talk with you beforehand.
Oh,
just to make sure
sure.
you're ready for it. So.
And then tackling just helping more people with work. So any way that I can serve my company and the people involved with our organization well, and grow professionally as well.
Cool. If people want to reach out to you, what's your contact info? You got any, maybe even any services that you offer that you know?
Where am I found? All my handles and things like that. I'm on Twitter. I almost never ever use it though, so it's not a great place to find me.
All right, so delete that.
I think I'm at RJ Physical, spelled FYZICAL on there. I'm sure if you message me, I'd get it. But Facebook is RJ Williams. I think I'm facebook.com Williams.rj is actually comes to me. And then I'm RW8612 on Instagram. I've tried in the last couple months to really get off of social media though. Something that I felt that I was using to fill a void of something that I was missing. And it was like I would put stuff out there and then immediately look to see how many people liked or interacted it, and that number was equivocating to my happiness. And it's something I caught myself doing, and it's something that I wanted to move away from. So arguably I have those platforms, but I don't use them that much.
We'll put your email and maybe business line or something like that available for people if they got questions or anything. And thanks, man. That was great. And thank you for being a good friend, even though we don't hang out that much. I do consider you a friend, and you're a freaking great guy. And thank you for your advice. At a time where I was going through a really big transition, really appreciate it. It was invaluable, honestly.
Anytime.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a chance to make. I'll maybe close with this quote, because I found it on my phone from a couple years ago, and I have no recollection of saving it, but it was so timely to where we're at in the world right now. There's Simon Sinek, a guy who wrote Start With Why and Leaders Eat Last and all of that stuff, and I don't know where this is from any of his work. It was a tweet that he made, and it said the ultimate in self-improvement work is no longer caring about how you improve yourself, but how you improve how others around you feel about themselves. And it blew my mind to be that. To me, is definitely something that, again, it reflects what helps me feel happy is if I can look at the people around me and I can see them rising because of our interactions. That is the ultimate win. So helping you helping anybody here, a new member that's nervous for the first time to somebody that says, hey, just can you watch this clean and jerk and give me some feedback? Any chance to help the community is definitely makes my heart warm.
Love it. Thank you so much. All right, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. If you haven't done so already, I'd highly recommend subscribing to our newsletter at superhumantransformation.com, where you'll get access to all our PDFs and resources. And then I would highly recommend checking out our community website at community.superhumantransformation.com.
And just remember, the purpose of this podcast is to support our SHT community and to be in your ear as a go-to resource for all things SHT.
Yeah, so if you've fallen off, if you need support, just come back and listen to some of these episodes, get re-inspired, re-motivated, and re-engaged. And if you're new to us, the best way to get started is by connecting with us through the websites that we already mentioned, or you can just go to sht4life.com, where you can connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
If you'd like to support us, the best thing you can do is take the information and be living examples to others. You can also share this with people you care about.
And if you'd like to be a part of something amazing and help us empower the planet together, again, I'd highly recommend checking out our community website at community.superhumantransformation.com.
It's a wrap.